Hey guys, so for this video, I'm going to be walking you through the absolute best Fortnite settings in Chapter 3 Season 2. Now, as most of you guys probably know and have experienced yourselves, the performance in the new season is absolutely terrible. Frames are at an all-time low, creative feels insanely laggy, and to make it all worse, low mesh performance mode does not even work. I can't lie, I actually experienced a lot of these issues myself. The first time I logged onto the game, I was barely getting 150 FPS. But after some of the fixes I'm going to show you guys, my game has never felt better. Not even trolling. So make sure to drop a like down below if this helps you out. Also watch until the end since you don't want to miss anything. But without further ado, let's get right on into it. Alright, so to begin, we are going to look at some of the newer graphics settings. There's a few of them, and by a few, I mean literally two. How this video will work, I'll put timestamps down below, but we're going to cover all these settings, all the best ones to get you the highest FPS. However, I want to cover the new settings first, which are auto-download high-resolution textures. It's kind of a long one, you can't even see the full thing. And then below it is the kind of similar one, high-resolution texture reminders. So starting with auto-download high-resolution textures, this is actually an old setting that I have covered in the past. I believe it was in the game like 2 or 3 seasons ago. It's kind of related to an option in the game launcher, which we'll look at. But what it does is, if you have it on, enables Fortnite to automatically download high resolution textures. And I know it does say high resolution textures makes Fortnite look more detailed, but if I have this off, the game looks normal. It's not like the game looks any worse. I mean, this video is all about performance. We're not even supposed to really care about how our game looks, but I think my game looks pretty nice. My FPS is good. My game feels great. Who cares about stupid high-res textures? Plus, even if you really do care about them, I hope you guys know that high-resolution textures, as it says, will give you performance issues if you have slow internet or if you have limited hard drive space. So please, do yourselves a favor, turn it off, and you won't even notice it. Following that up, high resolution texture reminders. This setting only matters if you have this off, so it does matter because, as you can see, we turned it off. But what high resolution texture reminders does is if you turn the auto download one off, it's literally gonna remind you to turn it back on. So the only way to stop that is, of course, to actually turn the reminders off. We don't want that. We don't want any stupid reminders or any performance issues. Turn both of these off. Now we can actually go out of the game over to the Fortnite launcher where the high textures kind of hide. For this next part, you have to close out of your game. You can see I'm just on my desktop. And what I'm going to do is bring up the Epic Games launcher, make sure it's in frame. I'll also drink some water. But from here, I'm going to go to the library, over to Fortnite, and depending on how your library looks, it might look like this, it might look like that. Just click on the 3 little dots next to Fortnite and go to your options. This is the Fortnite installation options page. This is where high resolution textures are, and this is the only way to uninstall them. So if you're someone who had that auto download high resolution textures on, you most likely have this checked, meaning you have high resolution textures currently installed. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to uncheck it. So just click right next to it, hit apply. Something will come up. I don't have them installed, so it's not going to work. But something interesting is that Epic changed the high resolution textures to 8 gigabytes. It used to be like 20 gigabytes, which is a ton of space. People don't realize if your SSD or your hard drive, that's basically where all the storage is on your PC. You can see this is my main SSD. This is my other one. My second one's actually getting pretty full. But if your SSD or your hard drive is full, meaning maybe you have a ton of games, a ton of clips, and then you go to download high resolution textures, that is gonna destroy your FPS. So I mean, maybe on top of just uninstalling high resolution textures, go onto your PC, delete some stuff off of it so you have open space and it can run well. You can also uninstall Fortnite Save the World if you don't use it. If you have random languages selected, just uninstall them. And to make sure that you actually don't have them installed anymore, just click on high resolution textures, and if you see a download size, that means that it's uninstalled. You don't have to download it, so don't click apply, but that's just a good way to check because you want it to be unchecked and to have 0 download size. That's what we want, and that will get us the best FPS. Boom. Moving on to the rest of the performance and overall graphics settings, I actually switched to DX12, which is why I have way more. And the reason for this is because in my last input delay video, I kind of proved that if you're on performance mode, so I'm not going to switch to it, but anytime you're on performance mode, all the settings that we just looked at, and you can see in the top left, those input delay settings, which are still broken, all those things affect your input delay and your FPS on performance mode, even though none of these settings are actually available on performance mode. Essentially, what this means is because performance mode is still the best rendering option for all you guys, I mean, DX12 is not bad, but if you're struggling with performance, still use performance mode. What it means is if you actually want to get the best overall settings, you're gonna have to switch to DX11 or DX12, change all these settings to the best ones, then go back to performance mode, because like I just said, the settings you have on DX11 and DX12 that are hidden on performance mode, like they literally don't come up, they affect your game on performance mode. It's dumb and it makes no sense, but it's a thing. So to start off in the actual graphics quality options, we're gonna look at the graphics ones like your brightness and colorblind mode after. That'll be when we're on performance mode. But since we're on DX12, you know, we have not changed to the best settings. We're gonna begin over here. And the first setting is quality presets. Boys, you know I always say, turn quality presets to low. At first, what's gonna happen is it's gonna change your 3D res down, which is fine, just apply it. But right after, turn your 3D res, which is this bar right here, and crank it up to 100%. Doing that alone might actually help out your FPS. There's like a weird bug where if you just change your 3D res from 100 to like 40 and then back up to 100, it'll make your game run better. It's weird, but it works. And what that also did is it pretty much turned all these settings to low, near, or off. And that's what we want. We don't want shadows on. We don't want anti-aliasing. Textures are best on low. Then these we just covered, turn them off. Effects on low, post-processing on low. The only thing I would ever recommend changing, or not really recommend, but it won't affect your FPS that much, is put view distance to maybe medium. Anything further than medium you don't really need. I keep it on near because I'm me. But that is going to bring us down to the advanced graphics. I think in total there's like 3 or 4 settings that you just don't have the option to change on performance mode. Stuff like latency markers, NVIDIA Reflex low latency, and these things will drastically affect your FPS, but you can't change them. Why do they do that to performance mode users? All good though. We're on DX12 because that's what we're gonna do to change it. Then we're gonna go back, as I've said 50 times, but VSync, turn off. VSync is never good, only if you're really using it in your NVIDIA control panel, but even then, it adds input delay. Motion blur, turn off, that's useless. Show FPS, you can either have on or off. I like it on. Rendering mode, obviously. Performance, I've said it's the best. Allow multi-threaded rendering. Most of you will benefit from having this on. Let me actually tab out. The kind of golden rule for this is if you bring up your task manager, oh, there it is, and go over to performance, hit CPU. Then if you look down by where your cores are, if it's 4 or more, so anything above 4 and including 4, turn this bad boy on. Anything below 4, including 3, turn it off. Try out both. And I think we're now on use GPU crash debugging. This thing, as it says, if you have it enabled, it will come at a small performance cost. So turn it off. Latency markers, I also have off. These are the things that if I apply it, oh wait, I also have to go to the HUD and turn latency debug stats on. It's the thing that used to say your input delay, but now it's broken. It's stuck on 0. Epic is really nerfing me this season, huh? So because of that, there is no reason to have latency markers on. Turn it off. But speaking of NVIDIA and low latency, the NVIDIA Reflex low latency mode is probably the most important setting that you have. I explained this setting way more in depth in my guide from like 2 weeks ago. Go watch that if you want the nerd explanation. But essentially what it does, if we go off the Fortnite one, NVIDIA Reflex low latency, aka just having this on, it will reduce system latency in GPU bound scenarios. Now, in the case of Fortnite, this is really never that useful because Fortnite is rarely GPU bound. Fortnite Fortnite runs primarily off your CPU, which is why we have allow multi-threaded rendering on. So for this to actually be useful, we need on plus boost, because what the boost does is it makes your GPU clocks run higher, basically giving more work to your GPU, and overall, making you have less input delay. That's what NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency does. You think without this setting I can do crap like this? I'm an old man. Like, come on. I'm literally carried by God's settings. And maybe a 3090 as well as 0 ping. Good equipment. Anyways, back to the last few settings. DLSS, again, I explained this way more in depth in my last video, but for either of the settings, there's 3 in total. They're actually going to change your anti-aliasing setting, so it's going to turn anti-aliasing on, and then it's going to reduce your 3D res. I'm not sure if you guys noticed this. Maybe you don't. It is technically a way to get better FPS, but I feel like it doesn't make that big of a difference. I also just like my game looking HD. The cons outweigh the pros there. I turn DLSS off, and I'm pretty sure that's basically it. Obviously, ray tracing, if you ever have ray tracing on, you are crazy. But yeah, these are the absolute best settings for performance mode. I know we're not on performance mode, but these are the settings you need to have for performance mode to work the best. Okay, so I kind of just forgot to record this, but I'm sticking it in where it should be. I'm on performance mode. Look how many settings we have. None of those settings, which were like 3 pages long, none of them exist on performance mode, yet they affect your FPS. We changed the majority of them on DX12, like all the graphics quality options, except for one, and that is the meshes. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know why I'm in game because you can't change your meshes here, but it doesn't really even matter because the only thing you really can use are high meshes, or I mean, you can select low meshes, but they don't actually work. Fortnite has tweeted out that this is an issue they're looking into. I don't know why it would be an issue, like how that even happens. How do any of these bugs come about? But as you just saw, we changed over to low meshes. Low meshes, mobile builds, right? What? Everything is just high meshes. So yeah, it's a bug. When it comes back, low meshes will get you the best input delay. As long as you're on performance mode, it doesn't really matter whether you use high meshes or not. It kind of comes down to preference. Do you want the least amount of input delay with low meshes? Or do you want like decent awareness on actual normal high meshes and non-mobile builds? It's up to you guys. Use whatever you want. And now we can move on to the other important stuff, which may also be broken, and that is your colorblind modes. As you can see here, these are my graphics settings. Let me hide my head. We have the brightness, we have user interface contrast, colorblind mode, and colorblind mode strength. Brightness actually works. I went down to 50. In game, it's way darker. Even user interface contrast works. This is basically changing how your settings page looks, how dark and how contrasted it is. But if we go to colorblind mode, let's crank it to Deuteranope 10. Everything changed. So you would think it works. This is Deuteranope. However, if I bring my face back and we're in game, nothing changed. So look, Deuteranope, right? Let me go back to no colorblind mode. Nothing changed. Epic broke colorblind modes. Now, I believe this has been an issue for a while. The only thing colorblind mode changes, if you look, wait, let me apply it. It changes my weapons. So you see my pickaxe? It's a darker color of blue. The green on the rock, like the HP is different. But then if we go back to colorblind mode off, nothing has changed in terms of the actual map. Yet the green in my inventory and the blue for my pickaxe, the HP on this stuff, it has changed. It makes no sense. So yeah, colorblind mode is officially broken. I actually would just recommend not using any on performance mode. I feel like they've made the colors decent enough now where you can see zone decent enough. You don't really have an option to either way. But for those people who really need a colorblind mode, like they're actually colorblind, and I guess Epic doesn't really care about you, the only current fix there is to change to either DX12 or DX11. I mean, I'm gliding in and I have like 240 stable FPS. This is DX12, by the way. It works really, really well if you have a good PC. And look, there's proof. The grass. This is only on DX12 and DX11. But even more proof that colorblind mode only works on DX11 and DX12. DX12, just look around. This is normal, right? But if we go to Deuteronope 10, which is going to be the most drastic, and I apply, look how much different it is. This is what colorblind mode is supposed to look like, even on performance mode, but for some reason, it only works on DX11 and DX12. Like, bruh, how are you going to just make all colorblind players play at a disadvantage? And how are you not even going to fix it? They put up a whole new season and they didn't fix it. But yeah, this is DX12. It feels really, really good. I can't lie. The only bad part about it is fighting in zone is really hard. And there's also just other crap like grass. I don't like looking at grass. So I mean, I'm sorry to clickbait you guys. I didn't really, but colorblind mode on performance mode is broken. There's no best colorblind mode really. I recommend putting all these on default. And yeah, that's gonna lead us on to the final part of the video. The last two things I want to cover are two fixes, I guess, that I have used to make my game run way better. The first one is what I actually did after just updating. My game felt like crap, and all I did was go back to my Epic Games launcher. I went to my library, and again, I clicked on the three dots, but instead of going to options, all I did was click verify. So what verifying does is it verifies your game files. It kind of fixes anything that's busted or anything that's not working the way it should. And out of all the things I did, I can't lie, this helped the most. It'll just take a minute or two and we should be good to go. There we go, installing, and boom, that was it. It took like a minute. We just verified our game files, and that should actually help you guys out. Now what the other one is, it's kind of similar. We're gonna go to GeForce Experience, this app, which I love. It's gonna bring up the actual GeForce Experience application. Oh, and it logged me out. That's great. But once you are inside, go over to your drivers on the top tab, click check for updates. Oh, what the heck? There's a new game ready driver that was released today. I actually didn't even know that. That's hilarious. But if your game feels really, really bad, what you could do is just download the newest game ready driver. This is what I do whenever my game feels horrible, and it usually does the job. You could also do what I showed in my last input delay video, which is use DDU. DDU is way better because you're gonna have a way cleaner install of the actual driver. I know it's a little more involved, like you have to go to your BIOS, which is why I recorded on my actual camera. I wasn't even in the game, but you could do that to actually install it. I currently have the one on February 14th installed. I'm not going to install the current one just yet because my game is actually running decent. All I would do is press Express installation. But yeah, those are all my tricks. Go enjoy Chapter 3 Season 2.